Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am talking about mushrooms and the 3 things that I learned from taking mushrooms with my twin flame. Watch this video. All right guys, welcome back. So lovely to have you here today. Today is a little bit different. We're going to talk about something slightly controversial, I would say, but also important. And as you can see, I have my tea. I'm feeling cozy. I am ready to divulge all of my secrets. So we're talking about mushrooms today, and it's really important for me to also let you know that I would love to make a video with my twin flame so that you guys can hear his perspective on his journey and his trip. So I'm hoping to make this as like a 2-part video. One will be just me describing my perspective, and then I would love to see, like him describe his perspective for you guys as well, because I think that's really important. The other thing to keep in mind is that I've been on a spiritual journey for quite a long time. For me, I always think of psychedelics as, plant medicine or plant tools, right? Because anything that we ingest, anything that we use in this lifetime can be used as a tool, right? And it can be used for good or for bad. So I am somebody who always takes any kind of plant or psychedelic or mind-altering substance very, very intentionally. And, I'm always very respectful to the medicine, to the plant, to the earth in which it comes from. And that's very, very important to me as part of my own spiritual practice. So I have done mushrooms before. Never have I taken it with a significant other. So that was a completely new experience for me. And I've also done different plant medicines as well. So keeping in mind that this experience was not my first experience with mushrooms, but it did have some new elements to it, right? Like taking it with your partner for the first time can be a little bit of a scary experience. Also, for me, I've always taken these types of substances in a very sedentary space, either in ceremony with shamans or in a very confined space like a house. So this was the first time that we actually had made a trip out into nature. We were in like the forest near a river, and basically just on this river, and it was just absolutely incredible and beautiful, but very different. It stimulates your mind in a different way. It opens you in a different way. So there's a lot of differences to it, but still a very, very beautiful, beautiful experience. And as you guys know, if you've experimented at all or taken part in any mind-altering substances, you know that each experience is very different, and you really can't compare them to each other because everything changes, right? So there's this whole discussion of set and setting, which is, the mindset that you're in, the intention that you set, the people that you're with, where you are, what time of day it is. All of these things make a massive difference in the experience that you're going to have. So keep that in mind as well. But as we get into it, I'm going to talk about the 3 major things that I learned while I was on this trip with my partner, and just the really beautiful experience that it was, because I truly believe that this was a turning point for me in our relationship and the way that I relate to my twin flame and the way that he and I connect together. This really opened a new dimension for me to experience that relationship. First thing that I realized was just how divinely created you are to your twin flame. So I saw this in a matter of, so I'm highly sensitive. My partner's very empathic, but I wouldn't say he's very sensitive to like external stimulus the same way I am. So because I'm highly sensitive, I am made for processing information very deeply, where he's more made for processing information quickly and moving quickly, right? So what I was able to see in real time while we were tripping was him and a few others. So we took this with 4 or 5 of our closest friends, and they all went across the river to the other side of the river, and they were swimming over there, and I was by myself. And so I was really diving into my thoughts and my feelings and my fears of being abandoned, and my fears of not being able to do things on my own or being separated from my partner, which had come up a lot for us in the last couple of days. So there was a lot of stuff changing with our schedule. It was looking like we weren't going to have much time to spend together, and so I was feeling a lot of attachment over being left alone. And I was feeling a lot of fear coming up over that from childhood, abandonment wounds and ancestral abandonment wounds. So I was looking at this when we were separated during our trip. And so he had gone away with the others, and they were, well down the other side of the river where I couldn't see them anymore. And so I was on my own, and I was sitting there, looking at the trees and the patterns and the beauty of the nature, and, then looking at the river and being like, I think I want to go over there, but being scared to do that by myself without the support of others. And so it was a massive moment for me to understand that the way I move through life is generally a lot slower than a lot of other people, which causes me to separate and break off from them. And for a long time, I viewed this as a bad thing because I was always afraid I was going to be left behind, or I was just going to be on my own because I process things so differently from others. And what I really saw with my twin while this was happening was that he has an ability to move so quickly through obstacles, through just physical space. And his ability to move quickly actually allows him the room to help me move through physical space, if that makes sense. So I can take my time and process deeply in a way that I love to do, because I love to process deeply. I love to think about deeper meanings and to go into that space and to find the divine connections and, all of these beautiful ways of processing information. And then he is actually able to go quickly through things so that he can help me move a little bit faster. So he really helps, balance me in that way. And we really truly balance each other, where my depth allows him the ability to search his own mind and feel safe searching his own mind. And my desire to move quickly through life is supported by him being able to take some of that physical slack off of me, if that makes sense. So that was just a really beautiful thing to see, really how connected we are, and that when I want to slow down and he wants to speed up, yes, it will naturally separate us, but then because I'm able to slow down and process, then I can move a lot quicker on the other end. And also that when he gets to move a lot quicker, he likes to move quickly and then stop, and then he'll stay there for a while and give me time to catch back up to him. So it was this really beautiful dance that I was able to see in real time, where I was able to just appreciate the fact that when we were separate, I learned new information and then brought that fresh energy. And when he moved quickly, he learned new information and then was able to bring that back. So it's just this beautiful dance to see. And this happened throughout our entire group. When everybody was moving, it was like one person would move and then another person and then 3 more people, and then we would move back. And it was just this beautiful dance, almost like you would see a group of birds or a school of fish. The way that they move in a collective way like that is actually how we move as humans. We just don't notice it in that way. Another thing that I noticed and learned, which was just so beautiful and so important, is how much of a gift your twin is to you in this lifetime. And just the deep, deep gratitude and appreciation that this is the human being that I get to walk hand in hand with through life, right? And just the profound experience of that, right? I think a lot of times when we're in relationships with other people, we tend to take them for granted. I know I do. When you're just stuck in the day-to-day work, live, all of that kind of stuff, we tend to take people for granted. But what I was able to see during this trip was the divine nature of my partner. And when I was looking at him, I could see the sun reflecting off of his hair and the golden hue that he had, almost like a halo, and then the crystals in his eyes, and the way that mushrooms changes your visions and allows you to see deeper or to see things that you didn't see before. I was able to really see his true divine angelic nature, and that him being who he really is such a benefit to me and to everyone around him. So that to me was so beautiful. Because he and I can be quite different, I sometimes take for granted, like he has a very stable and grounded personality. He's very true to himself. He's very, silly, goofy, all of this kind of stuff. And I tend to be more deep and more slow and more fluid. But I really truly saw in moments where he was very in his personality still, and I felt like I wasn't even a person anymore, but he was still making jokes like he normally would. And the people in the group that may have been lost or feeling a little bit ungrounded were able to use him as a tether to feel more secure in those moments. So if you've ever experienced plant medicine or psychedelics or anything like that, you know the effect that that has when you are no longer tethered to the reality you're used to, right? So you understand that feeling of like, oh God, like what's happening? Where am I? And this showed me that, it's truly, truly a gift for him to be himself and for him to be who he is. And it's truly a gift for me to be able to walk hand in hand and side by side with him through this life. And just how truly, I can't stress this enough, but how truly divine in nature it is with your twin. Like literally every single thing that you guys decided on, that I was going to have this quality, he was going to have this quality, everything that you guys decided on in this life was purely made for each other. Even the hard and bad things were divinely chosen to complement each other. So this is why nobody else can compare to your twin, because it's truly, truly a divine gift. So the third thing that I was able to learn and experience while doing this mushroom trip was I was able to have a very different perspective on the divine masculine. So for me in my life, I've had a lot of wounding around my masculine figures. I had a lot of trauma with my father growing up. There's a lot of ancestral trauma on the masculine side in my family. A lot of alcoholism, a lot of abandonment, a lot of, really strong male issues. So when I always have kind of had a bit of a fear of men growing up, and a fear of, being close to men. And so what this was able to show me in this trip was how the divine masculine actually shows up in your life and the appreciation of that, right? So really what my partner was showing me during this trip was his ability to help and support the feminine, and his ability to be a safe container, right? So even just physically walking. So this was the first time in a trip where I had been moving around. So that was really new for me, because anytime I've taken plant medicines or mushrooms or anything like that, I've always been sitting or laying for most of the time. Like moving has not been a normal thing for me. So for us to walk a ways down the river on these rocks, and then through the river and swimming and all of these things, it was like having a whole new body. And so my partner, was carrying my water bottle. He was holding my hand through the whole thing, and he really slowed himself down in order to make sure I was safe. And so I was able to have an appreciation for how tirelessly the divine masculine shows up for the feminine, right? And the divine masculine is pliable and malleable in a way where they will show up in whatever the way the feminine needs in that moment, right? And that could be your greatest adversary. That could be physical support. That could be emotional support. That could be whatever it needs to be in that moment. And the divine masculine truly takes pride in his ability to support the feminine, right? So that was such an incredible gift to be able to watch, because I watched my partner do that not only with myself but with one of his best friends who is female, and the help that she needed maneuvering, or if she was hungry, or if she needed water, and just the male ability to show up in that way and help support the feminine was just incredibly beautiful. It was the way that you feel life should work, right? Is the feminine is moving and connecting and experiencing these beautiful realities, and the masculine is there to contain it and to give it a safe space to express and to play. And there was just something very beautiful about that with the different dynamics in the group when this trip was happening. To see that was just absolutely incredible. So those were some of the main 3 things I experienced. If you have any questions, definitely put them down below. I know this can be a very polarizing or conflicting topic, so take it with a grain of salt. If it resonates, keep it. If it doesn't, then toss it away. But just know that these medicines can really truly open our eyes in ways that we are not necessarily able to do, or that can take a long time to get there, because I have accessed states like this in meditation before. So there's no part of me that thinks it's necessary to have mushrooms or ayahuasca or San Pedro or anything like that, LSD. There's no part of me that thinks that's necessary. But it is a tool. So you can access these divine altered states within meditation, but it does take a lot longer to get there, and you do have to have a very disciplined practice in order to get there. So comment below if you have any questions. If you're looking for more support in your journey, definitely check the link in my description. I'd love to work with you one-on-one. But thank you so much for being here. Look forward to seeing you next time. Big love. Serena.